got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander.
Welcome to episode 7 of Coordinated Fire, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast where even Cad Bane's hat can't compare to a nice toque. How's it going, guys?
He does it again every week.
It makes me laugh more each time. We're doing good.
Fantastic, yeah. Lots of
made it
great
through
stuff
last
to, great games to talk about this week, and a big old event in Poland.
Yeah, I feel like we have all had some pretty busy schedules lately, so I am excited to sit down and chat with you guys.
Yeah.
And on that note, let's jump into some games played. I think we all got our regular Thursday game in at the very least.
I did not, but I picked one up elsewhere.
Oh, you did not. Sean, over to you first. What
Am I
what
kicking
were you
it
playing
off?
this week?
Sweet. So our regular Thursday, the Shatterpoint League, which Titus puts on. We're into season 2, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great way for us to actually get out and get our games in. So thank you, Titus, for that. I played this week against Ryan. This was another game where I was playing my V2, Stormtrooper Sergeant, Dark Troopers, Krennic, Death Trooper Specialist, and a Death Troopers list. Ryan was playing Armorer, Paz, Coverts with Dooku, Bow, and trying the B1s over the Magna Guards, which I think overall felt better and less restrictive, but we can talk about that during the game. We ended up playing this on shifting priorities. I did win the roll, which was nice. Yeah, great game. Some great plays from Ryan's side. Definitely, I think the B1s are better than Magnas. Giving the ranged attack, not being so restrictive in terms of the movement, really helps this list out, and preventing the Magna Guards not being a dead draw, as we've seen with some of the reps with that list.
I think he was happy with the B1s as
Yes,
well.
he was. Yeah, he was happy with the B1s. Actually, the B1s, again, just miraculously just do things out of the blue.
They do that.
Really surprise you. Very much surprise you. Paz did Paz things and held down objectives from the Inquisitors. Not a great attack for them at all. Armor was able to take my back objective, which was problematic. She's just crossing the board most of the time. From my side of things, DTS was able to get a back objective take, and DTS has been continuing to be a piece for me that's really interesting for getting some nice swing and getting some fantastic movement from the Death Troopers. All right, so we're talking about an initial dash when he starts his turn. His exposed ability gives him a dash, an advance, and then also the Death Troopers supporting fire dash. He can boogie across the board. He's very mobile. I think I found in this list in particular, I would want 4th over 5th, just in terms of being more damage focused. As we've spoken, 5th is a more control piece. I would have liked to have had a ranged attack from Fourth Sister when Reva went, which I think it would have been a nice extra bit of damage there. And again, I just cannot say enough good things about the Death Troopers with the supporting fire dash. Extremely impactful. Helps Krennic, helps DTS get where they need to be. Overall, great game. I was able to take the first struggle quite quickly here. He brought it back in the second struggle, and then Krennic was able to do a really great priority objective steal against 2 Mandos in the center to take the third struggle for me. Super confident in my game versus Mando, particularly with Krennic. Krennic has a lot of great ways to get additional damage through with the Stormtrooper attack. Again, stealing an objective from a hard to attack model like Paz, like Armorer, makes things feel a lot better. And then particularly too, if you can get that tie situation that I've been talking about, it really makes your opponent have to move resources over and put bodies maybe not where they want to be.
Yeah, I had a game against Krennic this week as well. And so my game this week, I played Kanan and Hondo against Krennic GI on first con. And this was a very long game. Long story short, I think I'm making it pretty definitive when playing on first contact at the very least, even in casual games, that we are running mission critical. We did not for this game, and I think we were close to 3 hours and a bit by the end of it. And twofold here, it's first contact. I'm pretty sure we flipped struggle 2. Like I ended up winning this 2-0, but it certainly didn't feel like that. This was a very long fought game, especially struggle 2. We flipped struggle 2 back and forth, I want to say 8 times. This was wild. this was insane. And especially against Krennic. And I think this is worth considering with the game plan and with Krennic is that momentum denial on a mission like First Contact. It was really impactful. And GI made sure that there was plenty of force to continue spending for that. Every time I feel like I had pinched Josh for force, he would just get the opportunity to gain a couple back. Ezra in particular gave a, pretty squishy force user target to be able to earn some force back. What I can say is I am very sold on Kanan Hondo. I think it's good. I know we talked about it a bit last week, especially after my Luke game where I was like, I really want to try this pairing. I think it's definitely a sabotage mission. And I might change it with sports. So I played Kanan, Ezra, Chopper with Hondo, Callus, and Bartu. I think next time I try this list, I'm going to swap out Chopper for the Rebel Commandos. I think this list is far less relying on Kanan's revenge trigger. I'm happy with the healing and the revenge movement. Really, it's just about keeping bodies engaged for Hondo's identity to trigger. This was a very aggressive Kanan list, and it was really cool seeing Kanan in more that light. The combination of the extra dice from Hondo along with the rerolls from Callus, things were hitting pretty hard. Was able to go relatively toe to toe when it came to wounds into, Krennic GI is no slouch in the defense department. A lot of models with, this was Fifth Brother and the Death Troopers, so we were dealing with protection. He was playing Vader 3 with Krennic as well. So it was tough bodies, and I was able to go toe to toe with wounds. So I'm gonna say we were on the right path there. If anyone's looking for a fun Hondo list to play, I was really impressed. Some tweaks with the supports that I want to look at, but I was super happy with this list, and I still really, really, really don't like First Contact.
Raise your hand if you haven't played a game on it yet.
Good luck.
You need to get
buddy.
on that, man.
I do. I am
that.
procrastinating so bad on it, and I need to do it. We'll get there. We'll get there soon.
Titus, you also got a game in this week.
Yeah. So I wasn't able to get my Thursday game in, but I was able to pick up a game yesterday against Rudy on TTS. So I was testing out something kind of silly, kind of janky. Wanted to get some Empire stuff out there, some just ability combinations I'd been looking at for a while and just hadn't been able to get around to it. But because it was just a casual pickup game, spur of the moment, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try one of these. So I ended up going with Grand Inquisitor, Callus, and Del Meeko, and then Crosshair, like Empire Crosshair, with Firebrand and Death Troopers. So couple of ability combinations there. Grand Inquisitor having refresh, force refresh makes Callus a little more palatable, because in Empire he often is just re-rolling 1, maybe 2 dice, and that's often doesn't feel like a force is worth it. But with Grand Inquisitor and CT, you get force refresh on both sides. It's a little easier to stomach. And then Del Meeko having supporting fire dash with the Death Troopers, I was hoping would give him a little more range, a little more flexibility to do his double tap frequently and still get some distance in there. Rudy was playing a Rebels list, so it was Cassian, Sabine, and Baze Malbus and Chirrut Imwe. The other squad was Kanan, Ezra, and Chopper. We played on odds, and boy, Baze and Chirrut are really strong. We'll get to that in a little bit, because I think we're going to be talking about the Jin box in a bit. But just in terms of how the game played out, I got a little run over. It was a good game, but it went 2-0, and honestly, Baze and Chirrut just were standing on their heads in terms of their performance. Like, they were consistently getting most of their tree on me, which I don't get the impression is going to be a common occurrence, but it just happened to be how the dice rolled out. And I got to be on the opposite side of the Cassian effect, where I go, oh, I can't wound something, or I don't get a point. Except it was even worse because Kanan was also over there. I was still able to get a few kills in, but it was hard fought. I just felt like I couldn't ever capture enough points to tip the game back in my favor. And yeah, like I think this is like the Cassian Kanan list is unbeatable? No. I think with a better list, I could have given him a better fight, but It's definitely one to watch. I think it's a very good list. We played on odds, so having it spread out even more didn't help because my list was not very mobile, and it's something I probably should have considered beforehand.
Yeah, it's awesome that you were able to get a chance to test out some of the new teasers here. I'm not gonna continue saying Bays and Shrewd all the time.
Charades.
Charades.
And I'm gonna vote for Beirut.
Beirut. You know what? We can put it on the Discord. We could decide which is the best.
Pronunciation.
What are we calling these guys? Speaking of these guys, we saw a preview last week of the This Is Rogue One box. This is one we've been waiting for quite some time. I'm sure everybody has seen it. If not, check it out in the Atomic Mass Games transmissions. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other people talking about this box in detail, going over what the units do. We're not going to do that, but we're going to give some quick hot takes on how we're feeling about this box. Sean, I'll throw it over to you first.
Gentlemen, I have a dream.
Sean has a dream.
I have a dream that a attack-focused primary that doesn't do too much for her team overall will be good. We saw a character similar to this in Fulcrum, which has kind of fallen by the wayside. I think Jin does a little bit more than that. I like her. Personally, myself, I think she's good, and there's a couple of things I hear that I really like. So we'll start off. This is a rebellion, isn't it? 5-dicers are kind of middling right now, but I think the main thing here is the movement for Jin as we go through more of her abilities. Reckless, aggressive, and undisciplined. Extra dice, always good. I rebel. Craig Norak in our local group said that Jin is really kind of personified in like her manic energy. And I think this ability really kind of shows that with her to be able to move around so much. And then the time to fight is now. You're spending momentum instead of force. I think is very interesting. I assume I were mentioning, I think this is particularly interesting in Mission Critical, where you know that you're going to gain a force. And then I like the heal on 2. It keeps conditions off of her. Now, again, Mission Critical is interesting. Wait, when your opponent gains some momentum, she heals 2 or on a wound, which I think really helps. And I was thinking about this too, is like, why is Maul kind of mediocre at times? Because he can't get rid of conditions. He can't get rid of the pin or the strain when he's on low health. This heal 2 helps her keep conditions off of her.
Yeah, it's tough though, because you gotta make sure, like, she's going to heal a lot, but if she's not being attacked, then you kind of have to move her around to be near her allies. I'm interested in seeing if there's ways we can give her extra attacks outside her turn, because I Rebel would get significantly better if you could. I don't think there's anything in Rebels that lets you do that right now, but something to keep an eye on. But I think the identity is phenomenal. I think it's so strong.
I don't know phenomenal. I think it's definitely strong. I don't know if phenomenal is the word I would use.
I value heals too high. I'm guilty.
Yeah, that's all good. No, like, I think it's super good. I think she's a swing primary. I think she can boogie around the board. Now, I said that about Fulcrum as well, too, and she's kind of fallen by the wayside, so we got to see how this one pans out, I guess.
Yeah, since we're jumping in here with hot takes, I think she's good and overall fine. Identity abilities are one of the main reasons you choose your primary unit in a list. And I think in a lot of ways, this one is more situational than most, especially for the first half of the force abilities. This could end up never relevant. And I think there's some balance in towards how much I value that because of that. Now, I will say that she reminds me a lot of Hunter in a lot of ways. She is Hunter for Rebels. And that comes with the good and the bad. I really like Hunter. I've played probably more Hunter than any other primary in this game because I really value the constant movement, the ability to get to where you want to be on the board. What I will say is that Hunter comes with some defensive tech that helps with his 9 health. And that's really where my concerns with Jin are. Jin is sitting here with 9 health. She's got clone armor for her defensive expertise and rolling 5 dice. Those are my hesitations. Now, I want to be really clear. I think she's solid. I think she's got a place alongside Cassian's box. We're going to talk about the rest of this box, which I think for me goes up from Jin in terms of where I value the rest of this box. And I think there's definitely a rock solid. If you want to play Rogue One, you were going to walk away with the Cassian box and the Jin box and be in a really good place to play a solid list.
I am gonna hop in here real quick. I see Jin more as armorer for rebels, because even when you start getting taxed from being wounded, you can still keep spamming those force abilities, and you'll run out probably around halfway through your deck, and 3 momentum by that point in your deck should be doable. Is that necessarily great? No, but if you're trying to go for kills and you're trying to swing the board to your side, you can, as long as the struggle tracker stays on your side, it doesn't actually matter how much momentum you have, because your opponent can't win. You have to be very reliable on keeping it that way, but I think it's definitely a play style you can take advantage of if you build your list as something that wants to spend a lot of force and can leverage that.
You'd have to be gaining more ground than you're spending the momentum, and that's
which is how I play the bounty hunters too. It's the same sort of principle. You're spending momentum in order to give yourself the security of being on your side of the tracker.
I think that bounty hunter list is going to come up again later in this episode. Spoiler alert.
I like the hunter analogy here, Kyle. I also think Jin really hits some points on the rebel playstyle of hitting quick and fast in struggle 1 to try and gain that advantage too. Like when we look at her attack expertise along with the trees, particularly on resisting arrest, we see a 7 dice ranged attack, range 4 with some fantastic attack expertise with shoves on 1 and 2. This is why I think she is a bit of a swing piece. And like you said, the Hunter analogy is great too. I've seen you do some crazy things with Hunter, and it feels like that Jin can probably do those Hunter-esque plays as well.
I've taken Hunter up and down the board.
Oh, you've taken Hunter down a board, hit a left turn, and then kind of went down the driveway a little bit on me.
Yeah, and that potential is absolutely here. She can get an absurd amount of moves if everything aligns.
Yes. Yeah, I think Jin is a swing piece. She probably needs a very good supporting cast behind her, which, as you've mentioned, the rest of the box probably gives her.
The only last thing I will add as a point of contention for me is the fact that Reckless, Aggressive, and Undisciplined and I Rebel share the same triggering event, which means you have to choose between them, and
they did it again.
That is just a cost that a lot of other units don't have to pay.
Yeah. If anything, I think she's going to be fun.
But moving to my favorite piece in this box is Bodhi Rook. So Bodhi is a 3-cost Rebel Alliance. Shares the same fantastic tags that Jin does of Rebel Alliance, Scoundrel, and Spy, which is a big part of where this is going to sing in terms of list building. Bodhi gets to move a Rebel Alliance unit. One thing I'll point out here with the wording on this dash, Bodhi can double dash, just like Kanan can. Those are the 2 of these similar written abilities that allow you. So if Bodhi selects himself as the allied Rebel Alliance unit within 4, he gets to dash, and then because he is a spy, he gets to dash again. So double dash and an advance on a character just allows them to be where you want them to be. Bodhi has a chance to gain some momentum for you, which I think is going to be one of those abilities that, may not be relevant all the time, but there is... if you play Bodhi regularly, there's going to be some struggle winning moments or some game winning moments just out of nowhere. And I think that's a fun additional piece to a character that I would play if they didn't even have that ability. And then Bodhi is going to give Rebel Alliance characters within 3 that are contesting objectives Steadfast, and same with Spies, immunity Expose. We've talked about this before with Luke. Immunity Expose was a lot more valuable pre-rebalance, with there being a lot less coordinated fires, but there's going to be some matchups that this is still very relevant. But Steadfast is the big thing here. This just helps units stay on the point. I can tell you, I'm looking at Bodhi, and his home is right beside Luke at this point. Because I can tell you, Luke loves Steadfast. I am all on board on Bodhi being side by side with Luke in list building, and this just opens up so many options for just an incredible 3-cost Scoundrel, Spy, and Rebel to really open up some list building in that era. On an attack basis, Bodhi's attacks are okay. He shoves on 1, which I just value very highly, but that's about all Bodhi's adding on the attacks, but that's not why it's not why you're taking him.
I think it'll be interesting to see him across from C-3PO potentially. Having 2 steadfast bubbles could be interesting.
You get steadfast, and you get steadfast, and you get steadfast.
Apart from that, there's nothing really that stands out to me about him. He just seems very strong.
It's really it's the list building that he opens up that I think is the big value.
His attack's pretty good too. Like I'm pretty happy with that attack tree.
His attack's fine. His attack reminds me of what you're gonna get with Stormtrooper Sergeant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm expecting 3 damage in a shove or 3 damage in a pin.
Yeah.
And occasionally get a dash.
And an occasional dash.
Yeah, immunity exposed is very interesting on this particular area with the changes they've made. Immunity pin would have been wild on him, I think, because of with the double dash movement and all that kind of stuff. That would have been very spicy on a character like this.
Sean, I know initial take you were a little less high on Bodhi than...
Yes, and then we talked about the list building in the 3, and then the double dash thing came up too. So yeah, so I've warmed up to Bodhi quite a bit past initial read.
Yeah, he seems very appropriate for a 3 cost. You know, we've seen consistently the 3 costs typically pay a significant penalty compared to their 4 cost counterparts, and I think that's the case here, but Rebels don't have many secondaries that can move something, and that just opens up a lot of options. Now, Titus, I'll throw it over to you. You touched on them a little bit already, but I know you are really high on Beirut over here.
These guys are probably some of my favorite characters in Star Wars in one of my favorite Star Wars movies. So I was already primed to like them, but the fact that they're a 9 health support that has a tactic that refreshes force, and the force refresh scales with how injured they are. It means they're almost always going to be force neutral, which I think is great. Occasionally, you can say, oh, I don't necessarily need the movement, and they will be force positive. Either way, they're in a great place when they activate. They're always able to do what they need to do, and sometimes maybe a little bit more. I also think their passive that incentivizes changing stances frequently is really interesting. I think it's going to be really fun, and it's a huge thematic win because you're just going through the mantra. I am one with the Force is with me, over and over again. And then their final passive, I'm not sure how that's going to play out as much. I want to see it on the table more before I really understand how that works, because it's pretty wordy, and I don't know how effective it's going to be, how impactful it's going to be. Because it's essentially just removing control tokens sometimes, and I'm not convinced that that's always worth it. I don't think they hit super hard. I don't think their attacks are amazing, but having 2 crits on 3 expertise and a condition on whatever their preferred melee or ranges, depending on what stance you're in, that part is very effective, and I ran into that in the game that I played against them. 3 expertise does happen, and it's backbreaking when it does, because just 2 down the tree and a condition, 2 down the tree, a condition. It's reliable, and it adds up.
There's a lot of words on this card.
There's a lot. There's a
lot of words on this card.
I need to get them on the table at least 3 times before I understand how this is going to play out.
Yeah, and we've had, we had access to this card a lot earlier. This was given out at Adepticon, so this one isn't new information as much as the rest of this article is with the rest of his cards, but I think seeing the attack trees brings the full picture, and yeah, this is a complex support.
So that final passive, it's wordier than it seems like it needs to be, but there's a reason for it. Basically, you can spend a force to break a tie, but instead of taking control, you're removing control entirely. Then it has an entire rider there that says if you spent a force and you didn't remove a control token, gain a momentum. That is, as far as I can tell, exclusively for if there's a lockdown unit on there, because you can spend the force and removing the control token is illegal, so you're getting something else out of it. I don't see any other situation where that would be the case. Even if there's a tiebreaker there, you remove control, then the control gets taken back on, but you still removed it. So it's a whole lot of words for a really corner case situation.
I think we're going to need some forum rulings on the intent for that one.
You're gonna have to throw us up on this one.
And I'm excited to see it. I don't think that's the most again, even if that wasn't on his card at all, these guys are a solid 5-cost support. And honestly, add that into why I think having Bodhi is really important for Rebels in general.
I think they'll be great Ewoks.
Yeah, I'm excited for the list building comes out of this. I guess while Han and Chewie are technically not Rebel Alliance, they're definitely spies at the very least. And you're sitting at a point where you've got 2 fantastic 5-cost supports to choose from.
And you can also put them both in a Cassian Jyn list.
What do we think about this box with Freedom Fire Leia?
The world's your oyster here, man. Like, I think they can go with anything.
Yeah, I'd love to speculate, but I think there is a ton of places that some of these pieces can go. I think we're going to see a lot of Bodhi, just again from the list building perspective. I think
I need to get them on the table.
Yeah, that's it. There is so many options, and again, we're seeing Republic, Empire, and now Rebels with Cassian's box and this box just be at an incredible point for options in list building. We're no longer tied to the obvious pairings, and I think we're going to start seeing some spicier stuff because of it. Speaking of spicy stuff, we had a pretty big there was a pretty big GT over the weekend. So we had a 48 player GT in Poland.
That's so many. That's a huge event.
Huge event. Like
so many players or so much Republic?
Both.
Both. Yeah. First
like
of all,
I said in the Discord, a lot of big foreheads again.
Yeah. Congrats to the organizers on this event. By the way, as somebody who's put on, a lot of our events here in Ontario, 48 players event, above and beyond too. We spoke about on the prize support. I know. The TO here went through a lot of hardships with the cards and all that kind of stuff. But it's just super, super impressive showing from the Poland community.
The end result was incredible.
Yeah. If you're a Galactic Republic player, yes.
There
fantastic
was also
results.
not one drop, and I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah, people came to play. It's great.
Yeah, anything standing out for you guys from a list, from the event?
A lot of Kiadi.
Yeah, a lot of Kiadi.
A lot of Kiadi Monday.
Rebels are still hanging in there. It's almost exclusively revenge lists, but Rebels are hanging in.
Yeah. A lot of Republic, a lot of Rebels. I know we've commented on this a few times, but we're still seeing that. I think a lot of people are bringing Republic, which means we're seeing a lot of Sabotage Showdown and shifting priorities. For missions taken, 27 Sabotage Showdown, 11 shifting priorities, 8 Never Tell Me the Odds, which is actually up from a numbers perspective a bit from some other events.
Most successful Empire was Iden and Grand Inquisitor. A little bit of spice as well, too. Tomaz playing Jedi Master Luminara, third sister, fifth brother, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Stormtrooper Sergeant, and Shore Troopers. Different take there. Only played it once, took a 2-0 against Vader 1 and Grand Inquisitor off the first round, but did only play it once. That's a spicy take on a Thrawn list.
Also, an interesting note, makes me a little sad, but you have to get to second place before you get any Separatists. It's a Grievous small list, and I think that might actually be the only Separatist list out of 48 players, which, I wish they were more playable, but it doesn't seem like they're doing great right now.
So second place, our second place player actually took Never Tell Me the Odds.
Okay.
And they were playing Vader, Kiadi, and Cassian Kanan.
Okay.
It looks like they played Vader, Kiadi round 1, and then Cassian Kanan for the rest of the event with only 1 loss.
And played Never Tell Me the Odds 3 times. I wonder if that is the most Never Tell Me the Odds games played by a player in this event. Because when I was looking through, there was very, very seldom Never Tell Me the Odds games. And to see somebody play round 2, 3, and 4 on Never Tell, be interested to see what the stats are on that.
Yeah, either way, a phenomenal event, phenomenal turnout. It's just incredible to see a 48-player GT. Yeah, our top 4 played primaries are all Republic. That is Kiadi, Kenobi, Anakin, Mace. Our most played non-Republic primary is Princess Leia, Charming to the Last, at 12 players and 39 games, right there along with Cassian. We jump into Empire next with Grand Inquisitor and Iden back to back and seeing a good representation from a games perspective. Yeah, this continues our trend where we're seeing a lot of what we've been seeing in other events. We see a lot of Kiadi doing very well. Kiadi came out of the event with 59 games and a 56% win rate overall.
I'm floored by how much Republic is just being played. Because even at the height of when Empire was just crushing everything, it wasn't getting played to this extent. It had better win rates, but it wasn't like they're just flooding the zone. It's everywhere.
We had a lot of people really excited to get those Republic toys back on the table.
Yeah. Ahsoka Jedi No More is still not getting played, and I don't know why. She's getting played less than Plo Koon and Luminara, which I think she's really good. I don't know why she's not seeing the table ever.
Now, despite a lot of Kiadi coming in those top placements, our highest win rate for the event was actually Cassian at 68%, with Charming Leia right behind him at 64%. I imagine the majority of those were together, and that's at 37 and 39 games respectively. So no small amount there.
Amazing. Yeah. Again, congrats to everybody involved with this event.
Our topic of the week did not have much of a showing at the event, but there were 7 games played with none other than Cad Bane.
Yeah.
Who is our
Cad
primary
Bane.
of the week.
The notorious
throw it over
hunter.
to you.
So, Cad Bane is something I've been playing quite a bit on. The main draw to him isn't necessarily anything on his ability card. It's the fact that he brings 9 squad points in every era of the game. Used to be only Clone Wars era. They recently changed that to the whole 1 through 4. He took the world by storm for a little bit there. People were worried about him being a little too strong. He's fallen by the wayside a little bit, but he still has some really great homes, and he is great for experimentation. You're able to do a lot with him in a lot of different ways, a lot of different boxes, a lot of different factions, and it's a brewer's paradise over here. So we'll go through his card a little bit. First off, he brings 9 squad points, 2 force points. He is a bounty hunter, mercenary, scoundrel, and he has stamina of 9, durability of 3. He has 2 active abilities. First one is How About You Step Aside, costs 1 force. You choose an enemy character within 3 and an active objective that character is contesting. The chosen character may dash away from that objective. Then, after moves are resolved, if the chosen character is not on the point, it gains a disarm. If it is still on the point, it gains an expose and a strain. Something that is important to note about that, they have to dash away from the objective. And I know that a lot of times it's, well, I'm further away. When it is written away from the objective, you have to do the 90-degree arc. And you have to have the base end within that arc, even if you go up an ingress point or something. It's a lot more restrictive than a lot of people will play it. And if you are bringing Cad Bane, you should know that and keep an eye on what people are doing when they dash away from the point, because you want to make sure it's a legal move. This is already giving them a lot of leeway. Anytime you give someone else a dash, it's very risky. So you want to be on top of how the rules interaction works to make sure that they're not getting too much out of this. Another thing that is interesting about that, if they do choose to run away, one of Cad's trees does have a disarm on it on the second step, which will bring it from 6 damage to 7 damage on 3 steps. So it can take you from not wounding to wounding. That is sometimes a trap that people will fall for because they don't want the expose and strain. But often you can get the kill either way thanks to that. Obviously, it's an ability with a lot of potential, but a lot of interactions to it. You really have to get him on the table and play him a few times to get the hang of this one. Don't worry about it too much if it blows up in your face the first couple times, because it is complicated to play. His second active ability is much simpler. It's Rocket Boots, costs a force. He gets to jump. We see this all over the place. It's great to have jump on command. The nice thing about it is it's whenever in your turn you want it. So if you got to move first to get to where you can jump, great. You can get up to where you need to go. This essentially just means he can get 2 points fairly reliably as long as they're within the correct distance. His only reactive ability is no one gets between me and my job. It's a 2-parter, but it's all on one ability, and you can only do one of the 2 options at a time. After another allied unit makes a combat action, this unit may use this ability if no characters in the unit are engaged. Worth noting, this includes wounded units. You are still engaged if the unit is wounded. You choose one of the targeted characters within range 4. One character in this unit deals 2 damage to the chosen character. If none of the targeted characters are within 4, each character in this unit may jump towards one of the targeted characters. It's a lot of wording, but basically, if it's outside the range bubble, you jump. If you're close, you do 2 extra damage. You can't pick and choose. And also, if it's a 2 shots into 2 different characters, you have to check both ranges. You can't just go, oh, well, that guy's outside of range 4, so I'm going to jump. You always do damage. If you don't do damage, then you're jumping. Finally, his identity, I'll take on any job for the right price. When an allied character wounds an enemy unit, after the effect is resolved, refresh your force, and one character in the unit may heal. Then, if the allied character is a bounty hunter, refresh another force. This helps keep Cad topped up on hit points. I can't count the number of times when he's gone down with like 7 damage and 2 conditions, and then you look back a struggle later and, oh wait, he's only got 2 damage on him. He just sneakily starts healing up from anything you do to him, and it seems insignificant, but then, it sneaks up on you. He has two stances like any other primary. One is needs no introduction. That's more your ranged focus side, a little more defensive. It's nothing to write home about. It's fairly damage heavy, doesn't shove till 3, and he gets jumps on it. The other side is a little more balanced. It's 7 dice on both sides. His defensive expertise is a little bit weaker. His attack expertise is slightly better. You get crits more reliably, but it is only damage for the first 3 steps and a disarm. So you often don't want to be in this side unless you are going for a kill. That's really all I have to say about it, because it's just straight damage for quite a ways.
Yeah, and you don't want to get stuck on this side and be getting attacked, because that 9 health is going to be real obvious real quick.
Yeah, his defense on this side is not great.
So overall, and Titus, and you touched on this when jumping in, I think definitively Cad is the most open primary for list building in the game.
He is.
There is no point combination that you can't put with him, as 9 is our highest point primary. From a force perspective, yes, he comes with 2, but that refresh, at least the first part, not being tag specific, means he synergizes with anything that's wounding things, period.
Yep.
And this opens up a ton of different options. What I will say is Cad takes a lot of practice.
A lot.
You need to put the reps in. He is probably going to feel pretty awful the first few times you put him on the table. And I don't think there's any way around that. You need the reps. I'm thinking back to games I've played, and I'm fairly certain no one gets between me and my job is the ability I've seen people forget most of any ability in the game. You just forget.
I still do it. It's so easy to forget.
You're not used to triggering something after an allied unit attacks. With a couple exceptions, and this ability playing out or not is really the make or break on whether Cad's a really good value to your team.
Yeah, I'll jump in there real quick, Kyle. That's the big noble for me, right? When you forget to do those early jumps, it really sets Cad back to have a very impactful turn when he gets flipped. He needs to be jumped forward. And be in position. And again, yeah, if you're forgetting those initial jumps, you're going to be like, crap, he's not anywhere near where I need him to be. And it's a really feel bad moment.
And one thing about it, and it's purely a psychological thing, but often players will remind you about coordinated fire and supporting fire when you're playing, say, a casual game, or if you're at a lower table at a competitive event even. Sometimes people say, oh, this triggers. Not even necessarily thinking about it. But because no one gets between me and my job costs a force, people will just assume that you are choosing not to do it because you're trying to save force in a list that is low on force. Because often that is the right play. So you're almost never going to get those reminders of, hey, you missed a trigger, because the thought process is, oh, they did that on purpose. Whereas with the free abilities, it's very common for people to just say, oh, you missed this, did you want to do it?
Yeah, you'll get that reminder or that, that assumption that the ability is happening where you may not get there. But it also, to that same point, this can catch people off guard.
Mm-hmm.
That may not be expecting that jump to that point or that extra 2 damage that, oh, this is wounding, when you thought maybe it wasn't. I think, Cad was a year 1 release for Shatterpoint. We've seen some ups and downs when it comes to competitive play. There was some time where Cad in an all separatist list was a very hot topic, and Cad's really coming back to the forefront of the conversation since the rebalance and opening up list building, because since Cad's release, we've gotten a ton of bounty hunters released that synergize very, very well with him. And for a while, you couldn't make the right list to make it sing. But since the era change on Cad, a lot of those bounty hunters are also seeing their second day in the sun. So from a box perspective, Cad comes in the Fistful of Credits squad pack with Aura Singh and the bounty hunters. How do we feel with this as a box as is?
Playing it as is seems fine. Aura Singh can take a little bit of list building work to find the right home for her. She is pretty strong now, but still kind of requires some finagling to find the right place for her. It's usually the one that gets dropped in favor of something else, but she's quite good to play as is. The bounty hunters are also they are probably the most generic support in the game, and they're strong. They're not too strong, and they can fit with just about anything else because of the payday ability.
Yeah, I like the bounty hunters myself. Very early on, I was actually playing bounty hunters in my Dathomirian lists because they can be payday to be Dathomirian, which works very well with Mother Talzin for her move on them, so they would get additional movement. I think I agree with Titus. Just generically solid shoves early on in their tree, which are fantastic. And when they're in position, tools of the trade, they have some very, very good attacks when they are already in position. You tools of the trade, you can get some great results from them.
Yeah, I think and I'll throw Aura Singh as well, just since rebalance opens up a lot of, again, really unique list building with her ability to just take another primary's tag. I don't think we've seen the fruits of that very much yet, but I know, Titus, you've done a decent amount of testing with it.
Yeah, like messed around with it a bit. It still catches me off guard when I'm list building because she has to take a tag that the primary has, and there's several tags that would be nice that
if I can make Aura Singh a handmaiden. Let's
a handmaiden, stormtrooper, battle droid is another one.
Yeah, but unfortunately she cannot do any of those, but she can take the tags of any primary unit. In terms of buying this box, if you want to play bounty hunters, this is where you start. Full stop. This is the starting point of bounty hunter list building. Otherwise, if you want a tool that opens up some really cool options, I think especially in the Rebel era, as we talked about this episode, there's some pretty good 5-cost supports. Now we've got 2 really great options. IG-11 is another one. So if you're looking for a home for them, Cad can be a great choice to get them into a list for a really strong support option to be able to be added to your list. So for the list builders out there or the bounty hunter players, this is 100% a recommend. I don't think you can fairly talk about this box without mentioning another box in particular that we may not get to specifically, as we're focusing on primary units for these discussions, but the We Don't Need Their Scum unit pack. Notice it's not squad pack. So this is a box that came out that was a bit of a surprise to everybody. That came out not as a squad pack because all 4 units in this box are secondary units. So this box comes with Boba Fett, IG-88, Dengar, and Bosk. All of your famous Rebellion era bounty hunters from the original trilogy. Honestly, all 4 of them are great units that all have their different places. And I've seen a lot of people want to jump in the game, and this is the thing that speaks to them, that they want to play. And to that point, again, if you want to play bounty hunters, this box and the Cad Bane box is, I'd say, certainly the place to start. Cad's era opening up gave a lot of these guys a better home than they had ever had previously. And I think that's going to be touched on quite a bit in our list build. With that, let's jump in. I'm going to kick off the list building. And as we like to do, we're going to go for the box plus box approach here. And I'm going to give two options here because, as we said, Cad is really flexible. The obvious way, so let's, we're running with the bounty hunters, and we want to buy 2 boxes to just get bounty hunters on the table. And that's going to be the Cad Bane box along with the Mandalorian box. God, I love editing. The Certified Guild Squad Pack.
That's an awful box name, just for the record.
Yes. Yes, it is.
It's so generic.
This is going to come with the Mandalorian, Grief Karga, and IG-11, all of which, well, Mandalorian and IG-11 are bounty hunter tagged, and Grief Karga, all his friends are bounty hunters. So this is the best out of the box pairing if you're going the bounty hunter route. If you're looking at Cad Bane as opening up some list options, especially from the Aura Singh perspective, and Sean mentioned her briefly a few minutes ago, I'm going to recommend the Mother Talzin box. Aura Singh being able to take the Dathomirian keyword opens up some really cool options with this box. Again, you would just be playing the Cad Bane box and the Mother Talzin box side by side. This opens up the coordinated fire from the Night Sisters as an option for everything basically other than Cad Bane, which is great use of that, especially now that coordinated fire expose is a lot less common. I think this is a really cool list to start out with. It's definitely a list that's going to take some practice and some reps to get down, but I think there's a lot of more hidden synergy here. And as you build your collection and you're adding things in, you could definitely test swapping out Savage for something like Jango Fett as a way to add another bounty hunter in here and open up some really cool options. So I think that's another way you can go for that one box pairing. If you want to take bounty hunters all the way to what I think all of us think the most competitive bounty hunter list would be, Titus, I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, so I have 2 lists. I'll start with the competitive one, which is what I brought for Battle for Breath. I put him with Cassian because I find the Mando pairing doesn't quite have the movement I want for a more competitively viable tournament list. So the list is Cassian with, usually you could go either Dengar or Boushh in his secondary slot, and then IG-11 or Han and Chewie in the support. I personally go Boushh and IG-11, but it's mix and match. I've heard pros and cons for either side. Then with the Cad squad, I go Cad Bane, IG-88, and the Bounty Hunter. That one stays pretty static. The idea behind this list is just all-out aggression. You're frequently spending your momentum early on to get an early lead and mitigate your relative lack of mobility with violence and also Cassian's revenge trigger. It's very much a balancing act. If you are not able to get kills quickly, your opponent can outmaneuver you and take points and you fall behind, which is
You're also
really
going to
bad.
run out of force very quickly.
You're also run out of force really quickly. You need to confirm those kills, and if you aren't able to, it's bad. So their biggest threat, in my opinion, is going into high health or high defense lists. Thankfully, you're playing Premier a lot of the time, so you can avoid that matchup. Just be aware of that if you bring it into that kind of matchup. The other list I had my eye on is another single box purchase, and that would be the Inquisitor box. You can take Grand Inquisitor and his entire box, sub out the Bounty Hunter supports, and then put Cad and Aura in with one of your 2 Inquisitor supports. At that point, everything you kill with is getting a minimum of 2 force back. And if they're an Empire unit, you are also healing on an Inquisitor as well as on Cad. The biggest choice here is with Aura Singh. You can make her Galactic Empire, and when she kills, you get 3 force back, or you can make her Inquisitor, and she can take advantage of the Enfeeble triggers from the 2 supports. It's really...
He also gets access to movement.
Yeah, movement from Grand Inquisitor. So it's really up to personal taste. I don't think the 3 force is necessary, but I do like the movement and the Enfeeble triggers. So my personal thought would be Inquisitors, but I mean, we were talking about it just the other day, and I said, no, definitely Empire. So even my opinion changes by the day. So, but I think it's a good box to pick with Cad. It gives you something a little more tricky to play with, but it can be fun.
Any value in dropping Aura for Vader 3?
I mean, there would be, but then it's
we're into more complicated.
And Vader 3 is hard to get a hold of.
Yes, he is.
It's definitely a thought. Like, I think that's a very good unit to put there.
I like the vibe. I like the whole vibe. Speaking of Empire with Cad, Sean, what are you cooking for us?
Little Empire spice. Yeah. So my list, am I like the most out there list this week? I think maybe kind of the reaching list a little bit.
Out there for Cad, right in the money for Sean.
Yes. Cad Bane, Notorious Hunter, with Death Trooper Specialist and Death Troopers, paired with Darth Vader, the Emperor's Servant, Stormtrooper Sergeant, and Dark Troopers. This list has a lot of stuff going on. I think Cad Bane is a obviously great force refresh, additional damage with his ability, who is going to help fuel Death Trooper Specialist to be able to do what he wants. You know, Death Trooper Specialist is a little bit force hungry if you want to use both abilities. Death Troopers are going to obviously help you with your movement with that supporting fire dash. Darth Vader is a nice hammer that goes beside Cad Bane. And just in case Darth Vader doesn't quite get there, Cad can help him maybe with an extra 2, which is nice. Stormtrooper Sergeant is helping your Empire stuff move around. Dark Troopers and Death Troopers. Just a fun one that does a lot of different stuff. Good high damage potential.
So I will say that I think of all lists, this might be the one to drop Sergeant and Darks for Boba and the ISB.
That's a great thought as well too. Yep, it definitely is worth a thought.
Be careful if you are confirming Vader's kills with Cad Bane, because if Cad gets the kill, Vader gets shuffled into the deck.
Sure does.
Yes, be careful.
And if you want that, that's okay.
Yeah?
Just don't do it by accident.
Yeah, by that measure, you could just actually activate Vader over and over again, as long as things
It never
are
works out how you think it would, though.
No, it doesn't, but it's
a very pie in the sky idea.
It sure is. But no, I think I would give Boba a shot here. That is a lot of force generation when Boba's securing that wound. And honestly, ISB hit hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do. They do. And again, with Cad's extra 2 damage, just in case they don't get there, it can be a bit of a...
And Boba's a perfect example of, wow, an extra 2 damage would really help here.
Yeah, extra 2 would have just got him over the finish line.
I will say, though, the version that Sean made is much tankier, and that is worth a lot in some matchups.
Yeah, V2 arcs, much tankier.
Yeah, so like with the rest of our primaries we've done so far, we've made sure to come in here with a premier list here and there, but one list each. I think the fact that we brought 5 is a testament to just how open Cad is. Just narrowing it down to 3 options was too tight.
There's so many more too.
And there's so many more. We didn't even touch on Padme, which I know is one of Titus's favorites.
And Aura Singh can be a Jedi. She could go with Kiadi.
There is so many options with this box. But again, for any of these, it's probably not going to feel good the first time you play it. So put the reps in. If Cad's something you want to play, if Bounty Hunters are something you want to play, put the reps in. I've heard takes on Cad that are anywhere from, D tier to A tier, and then everything in between. He's been a controversial primary, I think, since this box came out. Personally, I think he's right in the middle. I think he's a solid primary and was always just waiting for that right point. And this release is going to push him over the edge. And I still absolutely think that there's going to be that break.
I'll also say too, I think the era change was something that players were asking for and we're quite vocal about. And I'm very, very happy that AMG made this change. And I would say for me personally, probably one of the most positive changes out of the rebalance for the game in its entirety from the list building perspective and what CAD has opened up for the game. So we got to give props to AMG. We asked for it and you did it.
You're right. This was top of everyone's wish list. Cad and Hondo both. We're just waiting for being opened up. Cad just happens to come with 9 and Hondo 7. So Hondo's still a little limited into what can be taken with him. But honestly, if you've got the pieces, get that bounty hunter list on the table. I'm excited to hear the thoughts about it. So as usual, let's get those CAD lists in the Discord. We're excited to hear about it. This is a fun one to chat about it, no matter what direction you're taking it. So if anyone wants to bounce ideas for a CAD list, jump into the Discord. Link is in the show notes. We talked about the Gin Box today and Rogue One in general. If anyone wants to give Sean some sass for not liking Rogue One because he's a monster, throw that in the Discord too.
Oh, okay.
So now we're calling people out. All right.
Okay, that's how we're gonna end. All right, yeah.
Look,
So
now
we have a
now we're
tournament
gonna
coming
know
up.
who got into the. Now we're gonna know who got to the end of the episode.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That's true, because they're all gonna be like, "Sean, you hate Rogue One. You don't like Rogue One." Oh, here we go.
We have a tournament coming up this coming weekend that
We do, yes. We are doing our monthly tournament at Critical Hit, which has been a great partner for us for a long time, doing our local monthly tournaments. Is going to be on Saturday, July 5th. We have about 8 people signed up so far. Our events usually end up double digits. Lots of people usually sign up kind of last minute. Yeah, if anybody out there is listening that is close enough, it is in Curtis, Ontario. If you're listening from Ontario, make the drive. Our events are worth it. Great prize support. We're going to be giving out the league kit foils. I have some full sets of those, along with some additional foil Shatterpoint cards for any new players that want to come out. Our events are super new player friendly as well too. So if you want to get your first games in, come do it. We don't take these tournaments all that serious, and generally we bring stuff that we want to test. So this one and then the one on August 2nd as well too are going to be some great prep for the GT coming up in St. Catharines on August 16th.
And if you're wanting to try some stuff and just don't have the models, frequently someone who's going might have them and would let you borrow. So if you send a message out to one of the community groups or our Discord, maybe someone can hook you up.
We have a little bit of community set of models as well too that we've recently acquired. So let us know, say, hey, do you have this, or that? I think we can probably get anybody whatever they need.
We got it. I know I'm excited for some GT practice because I still have no idea what I'm playing. In fact, it would have been great to talk about what we were planning on playing on this episode, but I still have no idea what I'm playing this weekend.
It generally helps, like I said.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Good night,
Have a
everybody.
good
Appreciate
night.
it.